The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and pine needles, and Montego Vale was drowning in it. Not literally, but the weight in his chest felt close enough. He sat alone at a corner table by the frosted window, watching families pass by on the street outside. Couples holding mittened hands, children tugging their parents toward the toy store across the way. Christmas lights blinked in rhythm with his heartbeat, or maybe it just felt that way. Everything felt too loud lately. Too bright. Too much. His phone buzzed on the table. "Mom, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Your brother's bringing Jennifer. Aunt Claudia keeps asking if you're bringing someone this year." I told her probably not, but maybe? Christmas tree red heart. Montego stared at the message until the screen went dark. Probably not. He could almost hear his mother's voice, hopeful, gentle, trying not to push. But the question was always there, hovering like December fog. "Are you okay? Are you happy? Why are you still alone?" He didn't know how to explain that he wasn't unhappy, exactly. Just fading. Like a drawing left too long in the sun. The door chimed. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of snow that hadn't fallen yet. And then he heard it. A voice. Low, controlled, but trembling at the edges. "I can't do this anymore." Montego's gaze shifted toward the counter. A woman stood there, phone pressed to her ear, her back to him. She wore a long charcoal coat, tailored and expensive looking, her dark hair pulled into a loose knot at the nape of her neck. Even from behind, she radiated something. Composure, maybe, or the fierce effort to maintain it. "No, Marcus. I don't care what the optics are." Her voice dropped lower, but Montego could still hear the fracture in it. "I'm not spending Christmas pretending to be in love with someone who only sees me as a portfolio." Silence. Her shoulders rose and fell. "I know what I signed up for, but I'm tired of being a headline." She ended the call without waiting for a response. For a moment, she just stood there, staring at the menu board like it held answers to questions she hadn't asked yet. Her hand, delicate and ringless, rested against the counter as if she needed it to hold herself upright. Montego looked away. He shouldn't have been listening. But something about her stillness, the way she seemed to be holding her breath, made it impossible not to feel the heaviness she carried. The barista approached. "What can I get you?" "Just black coffee, please." Her voice steadied, but barely. "Name for the order?" A pause. A long one. "Mitchell." The name came out soft, almost reluctant, like she wasn't sure she wanted to be called anything at all. Montego's chest tightened. He didn't know why. He didn't know her. But there was something unbearably familiar in the way she stood there, alone in a crowded room, invisible even while being seen. She paid, then turned toward the seating area. And for just a second, their eyes met. Hers were dark, tired, beautiful in a way that made him forget to breathe. There was no smile. No acknowledgement. Just a flicker of recognition, not of him but of something. A shared understanding, maybe. The kind that exists between two people who've both learned how to disappear. She looked away first. Montego watched as she walked to the opposite corner, sat down with her back to the room, and pulled out a laptop. Her hands hovered over the keys, but didn't type. She just stared at the screen, motionless. His phone buzzed again. "Mom, let me know if you're coming alone or not. I'll set the table accordingly. Love you, sweetheart." Montego exhaled slowly. Coming alone. He always did. But as he glanced back toward the woman, Mitchell, something twisted in his chest. Not attraction, exactly. Not yet. Just resonance. The quiet, aching kind. She looked like someone who needed a Christmas miracle. And so did he. Montego Vale had stopped believing in coincidences around the same time he stopped believing someone might choose him. 3 years ago, on a night that felt like this one, cold, quiet, full of almost, his girlfriend of 5 years had looked at him across a dinner table and said, "I think I need more." Not more love. Not more time. Just more. More ambition. More excitement. More of whatever he wasn't. He'd spent months trying to understand what she meant. He had a career he loved, illustrating children's books from his small studio apartment overlooking the bay. He made enough to live simply, to buy good coffee and art supplies and the occasional hardcover novel. He was kind. He listened. He remembered birthdays. But none of it had been enough. So he'd learned to make himself smaller, quieter. He stopped mentioning his work at family gatherings because his younger brother's finance job always seemed more impressive. He stopped dating because the fear of being measured again, and found lacking, felt worse than loneliness. Now, at 34, Montego had perfected the art of being present without being seen. He walked home that evening along the harbor path, hands buried in his coat pockets, breath misting in the December air. Silverpine Bay was beautiful this time of year. Strings of white lights draped between lampposts, reeds on every door, the smell of wood smoke drifting from chimneys. It was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone, where his mother's friends still asked about his love life at the grocery store, where being alone felt like a failure you couldn't hide. His phone buzzed as he climbed the stairs to his apartment. Travis, brother mom's freaking out about seating arrangements again. You bringing someone or nah? Montego typed back quickly, nah. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, Travis, dude. It's been 3 years. You gotta at least try. Montego locked his phone without responding. Inside his apartment, he flipped on the lights and stood in the doorway for a moment, taking in the familiar space. Sketch papers scattered across his desk. Half-finished watercolors pinned to a corkboard. A small Christmas tree in the corner, bare except for one string of lights he hadn't bothered to plug in. He made tea, sat at his desk, opened his current project, a picture book about a fox who couldn't find his way home. The irony wasn't lost on him. Across town, in a suite at the Silverpine Grand Hotel, Mitchell Tyler stood at the window overlooking the bay. She'd chosen this town specifically because no one here knew who she was. In New York, in San Francisco, in every boardroom and gala and networking event, she was Mitchell Tyler, founder and CEO of Vantage Solutions, the woman who'd built a billion-dollar tech empire before she turned 32. She was sharp, untouchable, the kind of person people wanted to be photographed with, but never truly knew. She was tired of it. Tired of men like Marcus, her now ex-boyfriend, who'd spent 6 months parading her around investor dinners while never once asking what she wanted. Tired of friendships that felt transactional. Tired of looking in the mirror and wondering if anyone would care about her if she lost everything tomorrow. So she'd driven 6 hours north to Silverpine Bay, a place her assistant had described as aggressively charming, and checked into a hotel under a reservation that didn't include her last name. For 1 week, she just wanted to be Mitchell. Not a headline. Not a net worth. Just a person. But even now, alone in a town where nobody knew her, the loneliness followed. She'd ended things with Marcus that afternoon, standing in that coffee shop, her voice steadier than her hands. He hadn't fought for her. He'd simply said, "I understand," like she was a business deal falling through. Maybe that's all she'd ever been. Mitchell turned away from the window and sat on the edge of the bed. Her laptop was open beside her, emails from her executive team, a dozen unread messages, calendar invites for meetings she didn't want to attend. She closed it. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. Mom. Mitchell hesitated, then answered. Hi, Mom. Sweetheart. Just checking in. Are you still coming for Christmas Eve? Her mother's voice was warm, hopeful. Your father keeps asking if you're bringing someone this year. Mitchell closed her eyes. I don't think so. Oh. A pause. Well, that's okay. We just want to see you happy, honey. I know. You work so hard. You deserve someone who sees you. Mitchell's throat tightened. Yeah, maybe. After the call ended, she sat in the silence of the hotel room, feeling the weight of every year she'd spent building something magnificent while her personal life crumbled quietly in the margins. She thought about the man in the coffee shop, the one sitting alone by the window. He'd looked at her for only a second, but in that second, she'd seen something she recognized. Someone else who knew what it felt like to be lonely in a room full of people. She didn't know his name, but she knew that look. The next morning, Montego returned to the same coffee shop. He told himself it was because they made good coffee, because it was on his way to the art supply store, because routine was comforting. But really, he was hoping to see her again. He didn't know why. She was a stranger. One conversation overheard, one glance exchanged. It meant nothing. And yet, he ordered his usual, black coffee, no sugar, and sat at the same corner table. The shop was busier today, filled with last-minute shoppers and tourists snapping photos of the vintage decor. Montego opened his sketchbook and tried to focus. The bell above the door chimed. He looked up, and there she was. Mitchell. She wore jeans today, a cream sweater, a scarf wrapped loosely around her neck. She looked softer somehow, less guarded, but her eyes still carried that same quiet exhaustion. She ordered tea this time. Chamomile. When she turned toward the seating area, she scanned the room and stopped when she saw him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then slowly, she walked toward his table. "Excuse me," she said, her voice low and careful. "I know this is strange, but do you mind if I sit here? Everywhere else is full." It wasn't true. There were empty tables near the back. But Montego nodded anyway. Of course. She sat down across from him, cradling her tea in both hands like it was the only thing keeping her steady. They didn't speak right away, but the silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like recognition. For a long moment, they just sat there. Mitchell held her tea without drinking it. Montego pretended to sketch, but his pencil hadn't moved in minutes. The cafe hummed around them, laughter, the hiss of the espresso machine, Christmas music playing softly overhead. But at their table, the world felt strangely still. Finally, Mitchell spoke. "You're an artist." It wasn't a question. Her eyes had drifted to his sketchbook, a half-finished drawing of a fox standing at the edge of a forest, looking back over its shoulder. Montego glanced down at the page, suddenly self-conscious. "Sort of. I illustrate children's books." "That's not sort of." She looked at him directly now, and there was something earnest in her gaze. "That's exactly what you are." He didn't know what to say to that. People usually followed up with polite questions they didn't care about. "Oh, have I heard of any? Do you make good money? Is that stable?" But Mitchell just looked at the drawing. "The fox looks lost," she said quietly. "He is." Montego's voice came out softer than he intended. "He's trying to find his way home, but he doesn't remember where home is anymore." Mitchell's fingers tightened slightly around her cup. "Does he find it?" "I don't know yet." Montego met her eyes. "I haven't figured out the ending." Something shifted in her expression, a crack in the composure, small but visible. "I hope he does," she said. The words hung between them, carrying more weight than they should have. Montego closed his sketchbook gently. "I'm Montego, by the way." "Mitchell." She offered a small smile. It didn't quite reach her eyes, but it was real. "Thank you for letting me sit here. You didn't really need to ask." "I know." Her smile deepened, just barely. "But I wanted to." They fell back into silence, but this time it felt intentional, comfortable, like two people who'd been talking for years and didn't need to fill every gap. Mitchell finally took a sip of her tea. "Are you from here?" "Silverpine Bay." "Born and raised." Montego leaned back in his chair. "You?" "No. Just visiting." She looked out the window at the decorated street. "Needed to get away for a while." "From?" She hesitated. "Everything." Montego understood that answer more than she probably knew. "Well," he said carefully, "it's a good place to disappear. Nobody really bothers you here unless you're buying something or blocking the sidewalk." Mitchell laughed, a soft, surprised sound that made something in Montego's chest loosen. "That's exactly what I needed to hear," she said. They talked in fragments after that. Small things. Safe things. She asked about his favorite spot in town. He told her about the lighthouse at the north end of the bay, how the view at sunset made you feel like you were standing at the edge of the world. He asked what brought her to Silverpine. She said she saw a photo online and liked how quiet it looked. Neither of them mentioned loneliness, but it was there unspoken, woven into every pause. An hour passed without either of them noticing. The cafe began to empty as lunch hour ended. The barista started wiping down tables, glancing at them occasionally but saying nothing. Mitchell checked her phone and sighed. "I should probably go. I told myself I'd actually explore the town today instead of hiding in my hotel room." "Where are you staying?" "The Grand." Montego raised his eyebrows. "Fancy." She shrugged, but there was something guarded in the gesture. It was available. He wanted to say I could show you around, but the words stuck in his throat. He didn't want to overstep. Didn't want to assume she wanted his company beyond this accidental hour. But Mitchell stood slowly, gathering her coat and scarf, and then paused. Montego. Yeah. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between hope and hesitation. If you're not busy, would you mind showing me that lighthouse? His heart did something unexpected. Now, if you have time. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, suddenly looking vulnerable in a way that didn't match the confidence she'd carried when she walked in. I don't really want to be alone right now. Montego understood that, too. I have time, he said. They walked side by side along the harbor path, the cold wind coming off the water sharp enough to sting. Mitchell pulled her scarf tighter. Montego kept his hands in his pockets, careful not to walk too close but not too far either. Do you come here often? She asked. To the lighthouse? When I need to think, Montego said. Or when I'm stuck on a story. There's something about the water that helps. What are you stuck on now? He smiled faintly. How to get a fox home when he's forgotten what home feels like. Mitchell glanced at him. Maybe home isn't a place. Then what is it? She was quiet for a moment, her breath misting in the air. I think it's being seen, she said softly. Really seen. Not for what you do or what you have. Just for who you are. Montego's chest tightened. He didn't respond right away, because he didn't trust his voice. They reached the lighthouse just as the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon. The light was golden, spilling across the water like something out of a painting. Mitchell stopped at the edge of the overlook and exhaled slowly. You were right, she said. It does feel like the edge of the world. Montego stood beside her, close enough now that their shoulders almost touched. It's better at sunset, he said. But this is good too. She turned to look at him, and for the first time since they'd met, her guard dropped completely. Thank you, she said. For this. For not asking questions. You don't owe me anything. I know. She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. But I wanted to say it anyway. They stood there in the cold, watching the light change, and Montego realized something he hadn't expected. He didn't feel invisible anymore. On the walk back, Mitchell's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned, and silenced it without reading the message. Everything okay? Montego asked. Just work. She slipped the phone back into her pocket. It's always work. What do you do? She hesitated. I run a company. Tech stuff. It's not very interesting. It was a deflection, and they both knew it. But Montego didn't push. Sounds stressful, he said instead. It is. She looked at him. Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Montego thought about his family dinners, his brother's questions, his mother's hopeful texts. Yeah, he said quietly. All the time. Mitchell nodded, like she'd known he would understand. They walked in silence until they reached the edge of town, where the path split, one direction toward his apartment, the other toward her hotel. Well, Mitchell said, stopping at the fork. This is me. Montego nodded. Thanks for the walk. Thank you for showing me the lighthouse. She paused, then added, if you're around tomorrow, maybe I could buy you coffee? As a thank you. Something warm bloomed in Montego's chest. I'd like that. Good. She smiled, genuine, soft, a little shy. See you tomorrow, Montego Vale. See you tomorrow, Mitchell. She turned and walked toward the hotel, and Montego stood there for a moment, watching her go. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than resignation. He felt possibility. They met the next morning at the same coffee shop, and the morning after that, and the one after that. It became a rhythm neither of them acknowledged, but both relied on. Montego would arrive first, claim their corner table, and pretend to sketch while watching the door. Mitchell would walk in a few minutes later, order chamomile tea, and sit across from him like it was the most natural thing in the world. They talked about small things, his work, her thoughts on the town, the strange comfort of December mornings. But beneath the surface, something deeper was taking shape. A connection that felt both fragile and inevitable. On the fourth day, Mitchell asked to see more of his illustrations. Montego hesitated, then opened his portfolio. Years of work, stories about lonely animals finding their way, about quiet courage and gentle hope. She studied each page carefully, her fingers hovering just above the paper like she was afraid to disturb something sacred. "These are beautiful," she said finally. "They feel true. True. Like you're not just drawing stories. You're drawing feelings." She looked up at him. "Does that make sense?" It made perfect sense. "My ex-girlfriend used to say they were too soft," Montego said before he could stop himself. "That nobody wants sad animal stories." Mitchell's expression hardened. She was wrong. The certainty in her voice surprised him. "You think so?" "I know so." She turned back to the drawings. "The world has enough noise, Montego. It needs more of this. More softness. More truth." Something in his chest cracked open. He wanted to tell her that no one had ever said anything like that to him before. That for 3 years he'd carried his ex's words like stones in his pockets, weighing down every stroke of his pencil. But before he could speak, Mitchell's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, and her entire body went rigid. "I need to take this," she said abruptly, standing. "I'm sorry. I'll be right back." She walked outside into the cold, pressing the phone to her ear. Through the window, Montego watched her posture change. Shoulders squared, chin lifted, every soft edge from moments ago gone. She looked like a different person. Sharper. Untouchable. When she came back inside 5 minutes later, her face was carefully blank. "Everything okay?" Montego asked. "Fine." She sat down but didn't meet his eyes. "Just work." "You say that a lot." "Because it's always true." There was an edge to her voice now, a wall going up that hadn't been there before. Montego wanted to ask what was wrong, but something told him this wasn't the moment. They finished their coffee in near silence. That evening, Montego's brother called. "Hey, so Mom's finalizing the table setup," Travis said without preamble. "She needs to know, are you coming alone to Christmas Eve dinner or not?" Montego sank onto his couch, exhaustion settling over him. Alone. Same as always. "Dude, come on. It's been 3 years. You can't just..." "I'm not having this conversation again, Travis. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, Mom worries. Dad worries. Even Aunt Claudia asked me if you were okay." Montego closed his eyes. "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine." "What do you want me to say? That I've been going to coffee shops hoping to run into someone who makes me feel less alone? That I met someone and I don't even know if she's interested or just being kind because she's lonely too?" Silence on the other end. Then quieter. "You met someone?" Montego immediately regretted saying anything. It's nothing. We just talk." "What's her name?" "Mitchell." And nothing. She's visiting. She'll leave after Christmas. It doesn't matter. It matters if you're thinking about her." Travis paused. "Bring her to dinner." "What? No. Why not?" "Because I barely know her. Because she's probably just being polite. Because you're scared." Montego stopped. Travis's voice softened. "Look, I get it. What happened with Claire messed you up. But you can't spend the rest of your life afraid of being not enough. Maybe this Mitchell person sees something in you that you can't see yet." After they hung up, Montego sat in the dark of his apartment, staring at his half-finished fox illustration. What if Travis was right? What if he brought Mitchell to Christmas Eve dinner? The idea was ridiculous. Presumptuous. She'd probably say no. But a small, desperate part of him wanted to ask anyway. The next morning, Mitchell didn't come to the coffee shop. Montego waited for an hour, checking his phone even though they'd never exchanged numbers. She didn't show up. He told himself it was fine. She didn't owe him anything. They were just two strangers sharing coffee. But the disappointment sat heavy in his chest. He was about to leave when the door chimed, and she rushed in, hair slightly disheveled, stress written across her face. "I'm sorry," she said, breathless, sliding into the seat across from him. "I got caught up in calls." I didn't mean to. It's okay, Montego said, relief flooding through him. I was just about to head out. Please don't. She reached across the table without thinking, her hand landing on his. Stay, please. Her touch was warm. He stayed. They talked for 2 hours that day. Longer than usual. Deeper than usual. Mitchell told him about growing up in a family that expected perfection. About building something from nothing and realizing success didn't fill the loneliness. About how exhausting it was to be needed for what you could give, but never for who you were. Montego told her about Claire. About feeling invisible even when standing in a crowded room. About how his art was the only place he felt like himself. I don't think you're invisible, Mitchell said softly. You don't know me. I know enough. She held his gaze. You're kind. You listen. You see things other people miss. That's not nothing, Montego. His throat tightened. Then why does it feel like I'm not enough? Mitchell's eyes shimmered. Because the wrong person told you that once. And you believed them. The air between them felt charged, vulnerable, like they were both standing at the edge of something they couldn't name. Mitchell, Montego said carefully, I know this is probably crazy, but my family's having Christmas Eve dinner tomorrow night. And I was wondering if... Her phone rang. She looked at the screen, and her expression crumbled. I have to go, she said abruptly, standing. I'm sorry. There's something I need to handle. Wait. But she was already leaving, her tea untouched on the table. Montego sat there, the unfinished question hanging in the air. Outside the cafe, Mitchell leaned against the cold brick wall, heart racing. The call had been from her assistant. Mitchell, the press found out you're in Silver Pine Bay. There's a photographer asking around town. You need to leave before this becomes a story. She closed her eyes, feeling the fragile world she'd built over the past week begin to crack. She hadn't told Montego who she really was. She hadn't told him about the money, the company, the life waiting for her back in the city. And now it was all crashing down. Because eventually, he would find out. And when he did, he'd look at her differently. They always did. Montego didn't hear from Mitchell for the rest of that day. Or the next morning. Christmas Eve arrived cold and gray, the kind of weather that made the world feel smaller. He tried to distract himself, wrapping gifts for his family, finishing the fox illustration, making coffee he didn't drink. But his mind kept circling back to the way she'd left. The panic in her eyes. The unfinished question between them. At noon, his phone buzzed. Unknown number, it's Mitchell. Can we meet? The Lighthouse. Please. His hands shook as he typed back, I'll be there. She was already waiting when he arrived, standing at the edge of the overlook with her back to him. The wind pulled at her coat, her hair. She looked smaller somehow, more fragile. Mitchell. She turned, and he saw it immediately. She'd been crying. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice unsteady. And after I do, you'll probably want to leave. But I need you to hear it first. Montego's chest tightened. Okay. She took a shaky breath. My name is Mitchell Tyler. And I'm not just visiting Silver Pine Bay to get away from work. I'm here because I needed to escape my entire life for a week. I don't understand. I run a company called Vantage Solutions. It's big. Worth about $3 billion. I've been on magazine covers, investor panels, all of it. Her words came faster now, like she was afraid if she stopped she'd lose her nerve. Everyone knows my name. Everyone wants something from me. And I'm so tired, Montego. I'm so tired of people only seeing the money or the title or what I can do for them. Montego stood very still, processing. So when I came here, she continued, I wanted to be nobody for once. I wanted to sit in a coffee shop and talk to someone who didn't know who I was. Who didn't want anything from me except conversation. And I was that person. Yes. Her eyes filled with tears. But it wasn't fake. Nothing I told you was fake. The way I felt when I was with you, that was real. More real than anything I've felt in years. The wind howled between them. Why are you telling me this now? Montego asked quietly. Because there's a photographer in town looking for me. Because by tomorrow, Everyone will know I was here. And I couldn't let you find out from someone else. She wiped at her eyes. I couldn't let you think I was using you or that any of this was some kind of game. Montego looked at her, this woman he'd spent a week talking to, laughing with, beginning to care about, and tried to reconcile what she was saying with what he'd seen. You thought I'd care about the money, he said slowly. Everyone cares about the money. I don't. Mitchell's face crumpled. You say that now. No. He stepped closer. I'm saying that because it's true. Mitchell, I don't care if you're a billionaire or a barista. I care that you listen when I talk about my work. I care that you looked at my drawings and saw something true in them. I care that you made me feel less alone. She shook her head. But everything changes now. Once you know, you'll start seeing me differently. You'll wonder if I'm judging you for not having enough. You'll second-guess everything you say. Stop. His voice was gentle but firm. Don't tell me what I'll feel. Montego. Do you know what I thought when I first saw you in that coffee shop? He moved closer still. I thought you looked like someone who was carrying too much. Someone who needed a place to rest. I didn't see money or power or headlines. I saw a person who was lonely, just like me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. And when you asked to sit with me, he continued softly, I didn't say yes because I thought you were important. I said yes because something in me recognized something in you. What if that changes? Her voice broke. What if you meet my world and realize you don't fit in it? What if you're the one who doesn't want me there? The question hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Mitchell stared at him. Why would you think that? Because my ex-girlfriend left me for not being enough. Because my family looks at me like I'm a project that needs fixing. Because I've spent 3 years believing I'm too ordinary to be chosen. His voice wavered. So yeah, Mitchell. I'm scared too. I'm scared that once you go back to your real life, you'll realize I was just a nice distraction. A simple guy in a small town who made you feel normal for a week. That's not, she stopped, her breath hitching. Montego, you're not ordinary. You're extraordinary. You're kind and talented, and you see people. Really see them. Do you know how rare that is? Then why didn't you tell me? The question came out quieter than he intended. Mitchell closed her eyes. Because I was afraid. Because every time I've let someone into my real life, they've either wanted something from me or decided I was too much. Too successful, too busy, too complicated. I thought if you knew you'd run away. She nodded, tears streaming freely now. Montego reached out slowly, carefully, and took her hand. It was cold. Shaking. I'm not running, he said. You should. Why? Because it's impossible. I live in the city. I work 80-hour weeks. I have photographers following me and board meetings and obligations you can't even imagine. And you deserve someone who can be here, fully here, not someone who's always one call away from disappearing. What if I don't want someone else? Mitchell looked up at him, her eyes desperate and hopeful and terrified all at once. What are you saying? Montego took a breath. I'm saying that yesterday, before you left, I was going to ask if you'd come to my family's Christmas Eve dinner. And I know that sounds small and ridiculous compared to your life, but it's not ridiculous. But I wanted you there. Not because I needed a date to impress anyone, but because being with you makes me feel like I'm enough exactly as I am. Mitchell let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. You are enough, she whispered. You've always been enough. They stood there in the cold, hands clasped, the ocean roaring below them. My family's dinner is at 6, Montego said quietly. If you want to come. I'd really like you to be there. Montego, they'll ask questions. They'll look me up online. They'll see you sitting next to me. And they'll know you matter. Mitchell's breath caught. What if I mess it up? She asked. What if I say the wrong thing or they think I'm too much or... Then we'll figure it out together. She searched his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. She found none. Okay, she said finally, her voice barely audible. I'll come. Relief flooded through him. Yeah. She squeezed his hand. But Montego, after tonight, I have to go back. My company needs me. There are things I can't walk away from. I know. And I don't know what that means for us. Neither do I. He stepped closer, until there was almost no space between them. But I'd rather have tonight and figure out tomorrow later than not have tonight at all. Mitchell looked up at him, and for the first time since they'd met, she let herself be completely vulnerable. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. But I don't want to be alone anymore. Neither do I. The wind settled. The world quieted. And in the stillness, Mitchell leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me. Montego closed his eyes. Thank you for letting me. They walked back to town slowly, hands still intertwined. Neither of them knew what would happen after tonight. But for now, for this moment, it was enough. Montego's childhood home smelled like cinnamon and roasted pine. He stood on the front porch with Mitchell beside him, her hand tucked into the crook of his arm. Through the frosted window, he could see his family moving inside, his mother arranging dishes on the table, his father adjusting the lights on the tree, his brother Travis pouring wine. You okay? He asked softly. Mitchell nodded, though her grip on his arm tightened slightly. I think so. They're going to love you. You don't know that. I know my mom will cry the second she sees you. And my dad will make at least 3 terrible jokes before dinner is served. And Travis will probably try to embarrass me. He looked at her. But they're good people. And they'll be kind. She exhaled slowly. Okay. And if it gets too much, we can leave. Just say the word. Montego. Yeah. Stop worrying. She smiled up at him, and it was genuine. I want to be here. He believed her. He opened the door. The warmth hit them immediately. Heat from the fireplace, the glow of candles, voices layered over holiday music playing softly in the background. Montego. His mother appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on her apron, her face lighting up. Then she saw Mitchell, and her eyes went wide. Oh, you brought someone. Mom, this is Mitchell. Mitchell, this is my mom, Diane. Diane didn't hesitate. She pulled Mitchell into a hug before she could react. It's so wonderful to meet you, Diane said warmly. Montego didn't tell us he was bringing anyone. I'm so glad you're here. Mitchell looked momentarily stunned, then softened. Thank you for having me, Mrs. Vale. Please call me Diane. She took Mitchell's coat. Come in, come in. Everyone's in the living room. Are you hungry? Thirsty? Montego, why didn't you tell me? I didn't know if she'd say yes, he admitted. Diane beamed. Well, I'm thrilled she did. Travis was in the living room, mid-conversation with their father when they walked in. He looked up, saw Mitchell, and his eyebrows shot up. Well, well, he said with a grin. You actually brought someone. Travis, Montego warned. I'm just saying, it's been 3 years. This is progress. He stood and extended his hand to Mitchell. Travis, the better-looking brother. Mitchell shook his hand, smiling despite herself. Mitchell, and I'll be the judge of that. Travis laughed. I like her already. Montego's father, Richard, appeared from the kitchen carrying a tray of appetizers. He was quieter than his wife, more reserved, but his smile was warm. You must be Mitchell, he said. It's good to meet you. You too, Mr. Vale. Richard's fine. He set the tray down. Montego's told us absolutely nothing about you, which means you're either very private or he's terrible at sharing. I'm betting on the latter. Mitchell glanced at Montego, amused. A little of both, maybe. They settled into the living room, and for the first few minutes, Mitchell was quiet, polite, answering questions, but clearly measuring her words. Diane asked what brought her to Silverpine Bay. Just needed a break, Mitchell said simply. Work's been intense. What do you do? Travis asked. Montego tensed, but Mitchell answered without hesitation. I run a tech company. Software development, mostly. Travis whistled. That's impressive. What's the company called? There was the slightest pause. Vantage Solutions. Recognition flickered across Travis's face. He pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked up sharply. Wait, Vantage Solutions? As in the Vantage Solutions? The one that, he stopped, glancing between Mitchell and Montego. You're that Mitchell Tyler? Mitchell's jaw tightened. Yes. The room went quiet. Diane looked confused. I'm sorry, should we know that name? Mom, she's like billionaire famous, Travis said, still staring at his phone. Her company's worth billions. She's been on Forbes, TechCrunch, everywhere. Montego felt Mitchell go rigid beside him. Travis, he said quietly, don't. But Travis was already reading from his phone. Listen to this. Mitchell Tyler, 32, CEO and founder of Vantage Solutions, named one of the most influential entrepreneurs under 35. There are like 100 articles about you. Travis, stop, Montego said more firmly. Mitchell stood abruptly. Excuse me. I need some air. She walked toward the back door before anyone could respond. Montego shot his brother a look, then followed her outside. The backyard was quiet, lit only by string lights wrapped around the porch railing. Mitchell stood at the edge of the deck, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the dark yard. I'm sorry, Montego said softly. You didn't do anything wrong. Travis shouldn't have. He was going to find out eventually. She turned to face him, and there were no tears this time. Just exhaustion. That's what always happens. I meet someone, and for a little while they see me. And then they find out who I am, and suddenly I'm not a person anymore. I'm a headline, a net worth, a story to tell their friends. That's not what you are to me. Isn't it? Her voice cracked. You heard him in there. He's probably showing your parents photos right now. They're probably wondering why someone like me is with someone like you. Stop. It's true. No, it's not. Montego moved closer. You want to know what my mom's probably saying right now? She's probably telling Travis to mind his own business and asking my dad if we have any vegetarian options in case you don't eat meat. Because that's who she is. She sees people, not headlines. Mitchell shook her head. You don't understand. This is what my life is. Everywhere I go, someone recognizes me or looks me up or makes assumptions. And I thought, her voice broke. I thought maybe here, with you, I could just be Mitchell. Not the CEO. Not the success story. Just me. You are, Montego said firmly. To me you are. But I'm not just me anymore. I'm that person on your brother's phone. And now your whole family knows, and they're going to treat me differently, and... Mitchell. He took her hands, holding them tightly. Look at me. She did, reluctantly. I don't care what Travis's phone says. I don't care about Forbes or TechCrunch or any of it. I care about the woman who sat in a coffee shop and told me my drawings felt true. The woman who walked to a lighthouse with me because she didn't want to be alone. The woman who cried on a cliff because she was scared of being seen and chose to let me see her anyway. Tears slipped down her cheeks. That's who you are to me, he continued softly. Not a billionaire. Not a CEO. Just Mitchell. The person I want sitting next to me at dinner. The person I think about when I wake up. The person who makes me feel like I'm enough. I'm scared, she whispered. I know. So am I. What if we can't make this work? What if my life is too much and your life is too small and we're just kidding ourselves? Then we're kidding ourselves together. He squeezed her hands. But I don't think we are. I think we found something real. And yeah, it's messy and complicated and probably a little crazy. But I'd rather have messy and real than perfect and empty. Mitchell let out a shaky breath. You really mean that? I really do. She looked at him for a long moment, really looked, searching for doubt or fear or the inevitable disappointment she'd learned to expect. She found none. And something inside her, something that had been clenched tight for years, finally let go. She leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. It was soft, tentative, like a question being asked. And Montego answered. He kissed her back gently, his hands coming up to cradle her face, and for a moment the world disappeared. There was no money, no expectations, No fear of not being enough or being too much. There was just them. When they pulled apart, Mitchell rested her forehead against his. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Neither do I. But I want to try." "So do I." They stood there in the cold, holding each other, and for the first time in longer than either could remember, neither of them felt alone. When they came back inside, the family was seated at the dinner table. Travis looked up, clearly embarrassed. "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay," Mitchell said, surprising everyone including herself. "You were just surprised. I get it." Diane patted the empty seat beside Montego. "Come sit. Dinner's getting cold." Mitchell sat down, and Montego's hand found hers under the table. Richard raised his glass. "To new faces at old tables." "We're glad you're here, Mitchell." "To new faces," everyone echoed. And as they began to eat, the conversation slowly returned to normal. Stories about past Christmases, gentle teasing, questions about Montego's work that had nothing to do with money or status. Mitchell relaxed by degrees. And by the time dessert was served, she was laughing at Richard's terrible jokes and helping Diane clear plates and listening to Travis talk about his girlfriend with genuine interest. She fit. Not because she tried to, but because they let her. Later, as they stood on the porch saying goodnight, Diane hugged Mitchell again. "You're welcome here anytime," she said warmly. "I mean that." "Thank you," Mitchell said, and her voice was thick with emotion. "That means more than you know." Montego walked her back to her hotel, their hands intertwined. At the door, she turned to him. "Thank you for tonight," she said softly. "For everything. You don't have to thank me." "I know, but I want to." She hesitated. "I leave tomorrow morning. Back to the city. Back to everything." His chest tightened. "I know, but I don't want this to end." "Neither do I." She reached up and touched his face. "So let's not let it." "How?" "I don't know yet." She smiled, sad but hopeful. "But we'll figure it out. Together." Montego kissed her again, slow and sweet and full of everything they hadn't said. When they pulled apart, he whispered, "I'll call you." "You better." 3 months later, Montego stood in his apartment, phone pressed to his ear, staring at the latest illustration pinned to his corkboard. The fox had finally made it home. Not to a place, but to another fox who'd been searching too. "I can't believe you finished it," Mitchell's voice came through the speaker, warm and familiar even across the distance. "Send me a photo." He snapped a picture and sent it. A moment later, Montego. "It's beautiful. It's perfect." "You think so?" "I know so." He could hear the smile in her voice. "Your publisher is going to love it." They talked every day since Christmas. Sometimes for hours, sometimes just a few minutes stolen between her meetings and his work. It wasn't easy, the distance, the different worlds they lived in, the reality that her life moved at a pace his never would. But they were trying. "How's the launch prep?" he asked, settling onto his couch. Mitchell sighed. "Exhausting. The new software releases next week, and everyone's either panicking or overconfident. I've been in back-to-back meetings for 3 days." "When's the last time you slept?" "Define sleep." "Mitchell." I know." Her voice softened. "I'm trying. It's just hard to turn it off, you know." He did know. He'd learned a lot about her world in these 3 months. The pressure, the constant demands, the way she carried the weight of thousands of employees and millions of dollars in decisions. But he'd also learned that beneath all of it, she was still the woman who drank chamomile tea and cried at lighthouses and wanted desperately to be seen for who she was, not what she built. "You need a break," he said gently. "I need you," she said quietly. "I miss you." His heart ached. "I miss you too." There was a pause, and then, "What if I came back to Silverpine this weekend?" Montego sat up. "Really? I can fly up Friday night. Leave Sunday evening. It's not much time, but it's perfect." He could hear the relief in her exhale. Yeah. Mitchell, anytime you can be here, I want you here." "Okay." Her voice brightened. "Okay, I'll make it work." Friday evening arrived cold and clear. Montego waited at the small regional airport, hands shoved in his coat pockets, watching planes land against the twilight sky. When Mitchell emerged from the terminal, pulling a small carry-on behind her, his breath caught. She looked tired, shadows under her eyes, tension in her shoulders, but when she saw him, her entire face transformed. She dropped her bag and ran. He caught her, lifting her slightly as she wrapped her arms around his neck. "Hi," she whispered against his shoulder. "Hi yourself." They stood there for a long moment, just holding each other, and Montego felt something settle in his chest. This was real. They spent Saturday at the Lighthouse. It had become their place, the spot where truth had been shared, where vulnerability had been met with acceptance, where they both learned what it meant to be seen. Mitchell stood at the overlook, wrapped in Montego's coat because she'd forgotten how cold a coast wind could be, watching the waves crash below. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, about us, about how to make this work long-term." She turned to face him. "I can't leave my company. Not right now. We're in a critical growth phase, and I have responsibilities to my team, my investors, everyone who believed in me. I know. But I also can't keep living the way I was before I met you. Just work and obligation, and nothing that feeds my soul." Her eyes searched his. "You feed my soul, Montego." His throat tightened. "So I talked to my executive team," she continued, "and we're restructuring. I'm hiring a COO to handle day-to-day operations, which means I'll still be CEO, still be involved in major decisions, but I won't have to be in the office 80 hours a week. Mitchell, I want to spend more time here, with you. Maybe a week a month to start, and we'll see how it goes. I know it's not perfect, but..." "It's perfect," he said firmly. "It's more than perfect." She smiled, tentative and hopeful. "You're sure? Because I know long distance is hard, and you deserve someone who can be here all the time." "I don't want someone who can be here all the time." He took her hands. "I want you. However, we can make it work. A week a month, weekends, phone calls at midnight. I'll take whatever you can give. Even if it's messy? Especially if it's messy." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I love you." The words hung in the air between them, fragile and enormous. Montego's heart stopped, then started again faster. "You love me." "I do." She laughed through tears. "I tried not to. I told myself it was too soon, too complicated, too impossible. But I do. I love you, Montego Vale." He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I love you too," he whispered. "I think I have since that first day in the coffee shop." They kissed with the ocean roaring below them and the winter sun painting the sky gold, and it felt like coming home. Not to a place, but to each other. That evening, they had dinner at a small restaurant overlooking the bay. Mitchell's phone buzzed several times, but she silenced it without looking. "Important?" Montego asked. "Nothing's more important than this." She reached across the table and took his hand. "I spent so many years thinking success meant sacrificing everything else. My time, my relationships, my peace. But sitting here with you, this feels like success too. You can have both, you know, the career and the life. I'm starting to believe that." She smiled. "You make me believe a lot of things I thought were impossible." After dinner, they walked along the harbor path, the same route they'd taken that first day. "Do you remember what you said to me at the Lighthouse?" Mitchell asked. "About home not being a place." "You said it first." "I said home was being seen." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "And I was right. But I also think home is choosing to see someone else. Really see them. Not the surface, not the highlight reel, but all of it. The messy parts, the scared parts, the parts they're not sure are enough." Montego's eyes stung. "You see me," she continued softly. "And I see you. And maybe that's what love is. Not finding someone perfect, but finding someone real. And choosing them anyway." "I choose you," Montego said. "Every day. Every version of you. Even the workaholic billionaire version. Especially her. She's pretty amazing." Mitchell laughed. and it was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. Sunday evening came too quickly. Montego drove her to the airport, both of them quiet, fingers intertwined across the center console. At the departure gate, she turned to him one last time. 2 weeks, she said. I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll be here. I know you will. She kissed him softly. Thank you. For what? For not needing me to be anything other than myself. For making me feel like coming home doesn't mean giving up who I am. For loving me. Thank you for letting me. She held him for a long moment, then pulled away reluctantly. I have to go. I know. I love you, Montego. I love you too. He watched her walk through security, watched her turn back one last time to wave, watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then he drove home through the dark, and for the first time in years, the loneliness didn't follow. 6 months later, Montego's book released a quiet but genuine success, not a bestseller, but beloved by those who found it. Reviewers called it achingly tender, and a meditation on finding home in unexpected places. Mitchell flew up twice a month, sometimes more. She rented a small cottage at the edge of town, a place that was hers and theirs, where she could work remotely when needed and rest when she couldn't. They built a rhythm. Imperfect but real. Some weeks were easy, lazy mornings at the coffee shop, walks along the harbor, dinners with his family who'd welcomed her completely. Some weeks were hard, missed calls, canceled plans, the inevitable friction of 2 lives trying to merge across distance and difference. But they kept choosing each other. And slowly, something neither of them had believed possible began to take shape. A love that didn't demand they be anything other than who they were. One evening in late summer, they sat on the beach watching the sunset. Mitchell leaned against Montego's shoulder, his arm around her, both of them quiet. Do you ever miss it? He asked. The life before? When everything was under your control? She thought about it for a moment. No, she said finally. Control is overrated. This, us, it's messy and unpredictable and nothing like what I planned. But it's the first thing that's ever felt like mine. Really mine. I know what you mean. She tilted her head to look at him. Do you? Do you ever wish I was simpler? That we could just be a normal couple in a normal relationship? We are a normal couple, Montego said. We just happen to have some unusual logistics. Mitchell laughed. Unusual logistics. That's one way to describe it. Besides, he continued, you being successful doesn't make you complicated. It just makes you you. And I happen to love you. Even when I'm on conference calls during breakfast? Even then. Even when I have to fly back at weird hours? Especially then. Because it means you're coming back. She kissed him, soft and slow, the way they'd learned to savor moments together. I'll always come back, she whispered. I know. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun sank lower, painting the water in shades of amber and rose. Montego. Mitchell said eventually. Yeah. Thank you for waiting for me. That day in the coffee shop. For not walking away when you found out who I was. For giving this, us, a chance. Thank you for taking the chance with me. She rested her head on his shoulder again, and they watched the day fade into night. Some people spend their whole lives searching for home. They chase it through cities and careers, through relationships that promise completion, through achievements that glitter but don't satisfy. And sometimes, if they're very lucky, they discover that home was never a destination at all. It was a choice. The choice to be seen, fully, honestly, without pretense or protection. The choice to see someone else the same way. The choice to say I'm scared and I'm imperfect and I don't know how this will work, and to show up anyway. Montego had spent years believing he wasn't enough. Mitchell had spent years believing no one could love her for who she was beneath the success. They'd both been wrong. Because love, real love, doesn't ask you to be more than you are. It doesn't demand you change or shrink or perform. It simply sees you completely, and chooses you anyway. On a cold December morning in a small coffee shop, 2 lonely people had found each other by accident. And in finding each other, they'd finally found home. Not a place on a map, but a person who made the world feel less lonely. A person worth coming back to. Again and again and again. Real love doesn't ask you to be more. It sees you completely, your wounds, your worth, your whole messy truth, and chooses you anyway. Home isn't where you're from. It's who makes you feel like you finally belong.